Hey everybody, this is Sifu Z.
I'm Johan.
We're at the Colorado Kwoon in Denver. This is the Intro to Wing Chun series. And this particular lesson is a follow-up to the Wing Chun setup. So you could call this Wing Chun setup part 2. And we're not talking about martial art technique here per se. We're talking about the technical setup that's needed to train online with a video, internet connection, etc. So, if you didn't already, check out the previous lesson, and all of the previous lessons are down in the description for you. Now, the setup, once you got all the gear, regardless of what it is, you might have some real fancy gear, you might have just, your phone and a lamp, like a lamp that you have in the living room, right?
Yeah, whatever you got.
Whatever you got. The key is knowing how to use it, right? So if you've got really nice gear, then that's great, but you have to take the time to know how to use it, just like this gear that we have, right?
Right.
If you have some nice gear and some kind of haphazard gear, right? Whatever it takes to get you there, it's really a matter of knowing how to use it. So with the lighting, let's say, this is the first rule, really. The second rule is audio, and that's a really close second, because in many cases audio is actually even more important than video quality, because with a basic video you can get a gist of what's going on right in the screen, but when the audio is bad, right, so you can almost get away with bad video as opposed to audio, but we really do want a clear picture because we're demonstrating stuff, physically demonstrating. So we do want a really clear picture. And the number one rule to get a clear picture is lots of light.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of light. Digital cameras still to this day, even though they've gotten quite advanced, really love a lot of light.
Right.
So right now we're using 4 lights, 2 big clip-on lights and then 2 smaller clip-on lights with the highest wattage that we could find, within Home Depot. So. And they're also LED, so they don't eat up a lot of electricity and cause problems with, shorting out the house, right, with all the lights. So getting as much light as you can is really the key, and as bright as possible. And then where you set those lights up. So we have them set up sort of in an arc on us. Some people might use a tripod. We've talked about that in the previous lesson. We are actually going to be investing in more lights, 1 more light, and then higher intensity bulbs. Get the clear white high intensity bulbs. You're probably not going to make much use of the more softer light. That stuff is for home lighting. What you're looking for is nice bright white.
Right.
Yeah. Now the second thing that I'm going to talk about, but it really is probably the most important, is the audio. There's a lot of ways you can go with the audio. We just recently upgraded and went to wireless lavalier kind of audio, but you can just get a wired lavalier microphone with an extension cord and plug it in for really cheap, maybe no more than $20. You can get something like that, right? So if you don't have the cash for a wireless lavalier setup, which they're really quite affordable. What were these, about
200?
Two something?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a lot. That's for, in the old days, you couldn't find a decent lavalier set for less than $600. So they've come down a lot where you can get something decent for about $200-300. But you can just skip the whole wireless part and get a wired with an extension, and that'll work just fine. So if you are just stuck with your camera, then you'll want to, when you're talking, you'll want to get as close to the camera as possible. And we have a situation here where we have a little bit of reverb, a little bit of echo.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have body mics on because it helps to mitigate the echo. So by getting up closer to the phone or the camera where the mic is, that'll help a lot. When you're in a big open room such as this, the echo can really be problematic, especially in the long run when you're doing lessons every day. It could be a drag to sort of really strain to try to understand what each other is saying. Now, the setup, and this is why I wanted to do a second and more intensive lesson here, is because the setup is so important. This is really what you need to focus on so you can then accomplish everything else. That's why I'm going in depth about this, because this is the sort of thing that you really should get right from the get-go. It will make all the difference in your online training. Now, what am I missing here?
Setting of the camera, importance of getting your feet in there. You want to discuss that?
Thank you. Yes, getting your feet in the shot for Wing Chun and what we're doing. That's why we like the body mics, because we're mitigating the reverb of the room, but we're able to walk away far enough from the camera and still be heard, and you can get our whole body. So the most common mistake is I see people's ceilings and just a little part of them, right? So all that takes is just adjusting and making
simple.
Making sure you're in the shot. I know you got to kind of mess around with it a little bit depending on your setup. But hey, we got a pretty decent setup, and we still got to mess around with getting everything in frame. So yes, make sure that you're in frame. And then you might even use a piece of tape or some sort of just marker to know where you're at. Oftentimes you'll walk beyond the light, and then once you get beyond the light, he's just a shadow. Same thing with me, I noticed that.
I like that idea.
So sometimes having some sort of marker, and especially like this is where you can see my feet, but then when I need to communicate, I might have to come up closer.
Right.
If you don't have a body mic and you're just using the microphone off your phone or your camera, then when you're speaking, you might want to come up close, and then when you're demonstrating, sort of step back and do what you need to do. Okay, and what else was it? You came up with something else too. I know. So. So let's just recap. So getting the lights. Cameras like light. Digital camera, digital photography likes lighting. So get lights. Use as many lights as you have in the house, or pick up some inexpensive clip-on lights, sort of shop lights with the highest intensity white bulbs that you can get. Right? if you can't invest in body mics, you know, for wireless lavaliers, you can get a wired mic with a long cable. That's an important part. You get the wired lavalier mic. It's just a little tiny mic. And here, I'll show it to you. Yeah, you can get these. Oops, see, we didn't practice this. We didn't rehearse this part of the wired getting all tangled up, but here we go. And they're just little, you've probably seen them before, they clip right onto here. And you can plug this right in to your device. Now, you might have to get an interface. If you have an iPhone, then you're probably going to have to get an interface or an adapter, right, for this. And an extension cord that will allow you to, step all the way back here to demonstrate, okay? And then make sure you can be seen, you can be heard, and all of you can be seen, right? Yeah, and also when you're doing your audio, do an audio check. You can, depending on your audio setup, you want to make sure that you're heard, right? Regardless if you're using the phone volume or the microphone volume, you want to make sure that you're being heard, but you also want to make sure that you're not distorting and that it's really, distorted and loud. Right. So, but it depends on your setup. Sometimes that's just a matter of talking lower or speaking louder, or physically, in the case of having microphones, being able to turn them up or down. Communicating effectively. Think about it. We're doing Wing Chun, and Wing Chun is a form of communication. Sure, it's a Kung Fu, it's a martial art, it's self-defense, but in the bigger picture, it's a form of communication. It's what's known as a physical communication. So this is our new shirt. Come up a little closer so they can see. Yeah, this is our new shirt, the Mauna Kawa shirt. And it's the Mauna Kawa woman. This was done by a Jim Agpaloza, and he just did an amazing job. Some say the woman looks like me, the face looks like me. I don't know. But anyway, this is the classic Wing Chun posture, right? And this posture is 400 years old Wing Chun, but you see this posture in like the deities from the Hindu deities and stuff like that. So this is a posture that tells an ancient story, and it's a story that's not just preserved from ancient times, but it's a living, breathing story. The Ip Man story, the Wing Chun story, and these postures that are so associated to so many different cultures, the Hawaiian culture, the Hindi culture, the Tahitian cultures. You'll see these Wing Chun postures, right? So what we're involved here in Wing Chun is a physical language, right? So we also have the audio, the speech, the communication that we can hopefully help to enhance. But the first and foremost, we have this thing, Wing Chun, that is a physical language. Now, it's so important for this to be seen, right? You want to be seen, you have to be seen clearly. And then, of course, if we're going to talk about and communicate, you have to be heard clearly. Right? You can be the best speaker in the world, but if it's bad audio quality, right? Or have the best presentation in the world, but if the video quality is too dark, then it's no good.
Right.
Right. And so this day and age, we really do need to put this at the forefront of having a really good setup that will allow us to train in Wing Chun. It will allow us to do
You'll
this.
get a lot more out of it.
Oh yeah. More than just the Wing Chun, but you'll certainly get a lot out of this
or your Wing
for
Chun.
Wing Chun. One of the guys, the members, you might know him. He uses it to practice. He's an entertainer, and he's been using video and this sort of setup to practice his magic. He's a magician, right? So I happen to be a magician myself, and I've had this same setup since I was a kid, with the big old clunky VHSs, right? So it's kind of familiar to me. So I realized to a lot of people this isn't very familiar, and then being on camera isn't a very comfortable thing. And then like blatantly having lights on you and cameras and microphones seems almost, I know it's might not be very comfortable, but
it takes a while to get used to, but
exactly. Just get used to it, man, because when you don't do those things, then you're not really communicating effectively. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting it across, but you're not really communicating effectively using the technology that's available to you to do so. Right? And we really want to communicate these postures, right? And talk about these postures so that they're clear and concise, right? We almost forgot to show the back. Let me see if I can get that in there. Yeah, look at that. Manakawa, Hawaiian style, Wing Chun Kung Fu. So you can get these shirts at teespring.com/Manakawa. If you can't remember that, that's okay. Go to SifuZ.com. There's a link right to it there. They take a while because the whole COVID thing. So they've been taking a while. I'm waiting for mine, right? I think I should get here tomorrow or something.
Right.
Yeah. Let me see. Anything else? That's it. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. Hit the notification button. If you'd like to contribute to this series, you can do so directly. One-time contribution for any amount to paypal.me/Sifu Z. That's capital S, lowercase IFU, uppercase Z, all one word. Paypal.me/Sifu Z. And if you would like to join us on a regular basis, you can do so for as little as $1. Where else you got $1 a month? You could join us and train with us. You can do that over at patreon.com/, you guessed it, Sifu Z. And what's the other one? There's another place I wanted to let them know about. Oh well. What's that?
The BB guns?
No. That's a secret. We'll tell them about that later. So, all right. Thanks for stopping by, and keep on training, keep at it, and really understand the value and the importance of getting a setup and learning how to use the setup. It's not going to take a lot of time, but it is something that you have to put a little bit of effort into. And have fun with it, because, that's what we're doing here anyway, is having fun. And, we just happen to be in a situation where this kind of setup is really what's called for. Right? The times calls for this sort of setup. All right, we'll see you next lesson.